Hi, welcome to Starz Recapped. Today, I am going to explain the Part 5 of the American fantasy television series called The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. So finally, the wait is over, because today I am going to explain Part 5 of the Rings of Power, which is the final part of this series. At the beginning, we see the wizard Gandalf arriving at the other Harfoot looking for his friend Nori. But here, he meets an evil wizard, who has held both his friends captive. Then the evil wizard says to Gandalf, "What will you achieve by staying on the side of the truth and good? Come with me. I will teach you how to control your powers. Together we will rule the world." But Gandalf says, "I cannot deal with darkness, and you are with Sauron, the one who will plunge this world into darkness." This angers the evil wizard, and he brings down the mountain on top of the Harfoots. He says, "Hopefully the pain of losing your loved ones will make you understand that all of Middle-earth." And here in Eregion, we see that Celebrimbor has finally created that superpower for these dwarfs in the form of rings. This time, it has made 3 such rings for dwarfs. Then in Dwarf's Kingdom Khajad-dûm, we see that Dwarfs' king wears one of these rings himself. And when he go to his people tell him that, "We have not yet found any other source of light, where we can make a hole and bring light into the mountains." Then with the help of the ring, the king says, but his people say, "This is the main foundation. We cannot dig here," on which the king himself starts digging that place. That's why Durin sends all the other workers out of there. But after a while, we see that the king was right, because this is where the source of light opens up. Then the king says, "Now dig where I tell you." And as his people dig at the places indicated by the king, light starts coming out from there. And then soon, with the help of crystals, his people bring sunlight to their entire city built inside the mountains. The mountains of Khajad-dûm are again filled with sunlight. And now they can grow their crops again. After which, in the episode, we see that Celebrimbor starts celebrating their success and congratulates dwarfs. But then Halbrand says to Celebrimbor, "We have saved elf and dwarfs, but the humans are still in trouble. That's why we now have to make 9 rings for humans." On this, Celebrimbor says, to this Halbrand says, "We will look for honest and courageous people who will be impossible to mislead. And we will make 9 such rings which will be given to different princely states. We have seen the power the elves have with the 3 rings, so now we must triple it." Meanwhile, back in the elf capital Lindon, the elf king is told, "Our navy is ready for war. So what are we waiting for? The orcs have infiltrated our borders. That is why we must destroy them quickly. Because if Sauron succeeds in his mission, that will destroy the whole of Middle-earth. We have to attack soon." Meanwhile, the king of dwarfs calls 7 other dwarf kings like him and says to them, "I have called you all here for this reason, because Middle-earth is changing, and dark forces threaten us. But soon we'll be free from all that. For we have now a most wonderful power. These 7 rings are for the 7 dwarfs' principalities. With these we can change our fate forever. But you will not get these rings for free." And then after this, we see that the greed of the king is increasing day by day. He tells his men, "We have to dig more. There is a lot of gold under our land. That's why we will dig out all that gold and become the richest person in the world. So go quietly and dig where he says." Then Durin arrives and says, "We have to stop digging because there is a very dangerous monster underneath these mountains." But the king does not agree and says, "I have given the orders, so go and dig." Then he says to Durin, "So far, we have extracted only a few drops of gold and gems from our mountains, whereas we have a whole ocean of them, so there is no need to worry." And here in Eregion we see Celebrimbor, who suddenly notices something strange, because his guys are making rings for humans. During the same time, one of her companions, Miradania, goes missing. But she is still present in this room, so Celebrimbor discreetly removes her ring, which brings her back. She says, "I was in a dark place. I saw a devil there. He have black eyes and burning body. He will burn us all to ashes." But then Celebrimbor is told that Dwarf's son Durin has come to meet you. When Durin meets Celebrimbor, he tells him, "There's something wrong with those rings, because my father's getting greedier, even though he never had any. He has also refused to give the 7 rings to the other dwarfs' kings, unless they all give him half of their treasure." To which Celebrimbor says, "This cannot be possible, because we have made these rings in the same way as we made them for the elves, so how can there be any flaws in these rings?" To which Durin says, "Then maybe the jeweler is lacking." Meanwhile, Halbrand begins provoking Miradania about Celebrimbor. He tells her, "The demon you saw was Celebrimbor. While making the rings, He was slowly getting absorbed in dark powers. And then later, when Celebrimbor is alone, Halbrand talks to him about something else and says, "You are an expert in adulterating metals, but be careful." To which Halbrand says, "Not at all. Everything has happened right in front of your eyes. Perhaps dark forces are taking over you, and it is also affecting dwarfs' rings. So now we have to make 9 rings for humans as soon as possible, so that the rings of both of them can be brought into balance." So Celebrimbor called all of his teammates together and said, "We've made some mistakes, and there's only one way to fix them. That we have to complete the rings. We have to make 9 rings for humans, so that the other rings can be brought into balance." And now we see how the Halbrand, that is Sauron, is playing with the minds of all of them, and trapping them in a web of his own making. And no one has the slightest doubt that he is Sauron. While outside we see that a massive army from Adar's side has arrived near their kingdom, Eregion. And here in Lindon, Elrond comes to his king and says, "A great orc army is marching on Eregion. Both of our elf kingdoms, Lindon and Eregion, are nearby, so we have to go there with our troops as soon as possible, otherwise we will lose our Eregion kingdom." On this the king says, "This is all a trap laid by Sauron." While here in between Adar army we see that Galadriel have been captured, and soon they bring her to their camp as well. But when Adar arrives here, Galadriel takes the chance and puts a knife to his throat. But Adar says, "I have not brought you here as a prisoner, but we both have the same enemy, Sauron." While here in the forest we see that Arondir, in search of Adar, has also come very close to him. But then he finds some orcs, and they attack Arondir. But Arondir quickly kills all 3 of them, and then discovers Adar's plan. While here in Eregion we see Celebrimbor getting totally engrossed in making those rings. To which Miradania says, "These days you have started getting angry with us more than usual. We are working beyond our capacity, but we still don't have enough mythal metal, because the dwarfs aren't sending us the magical mythal metal." Then Halbrand comes in and says, "You guys take some rest. I'll go and talk to dwarfs about the metal." And then after everybody leaves, he says to Celebrimbor, "You look pretty tired too. It seems you got a little too engrossed in making rings. But don't worry, I will take care of everything." And then, after coming out, Halbrand tells the people and soldiers here, "Our king is very busy with his work. That's why from now on I will handle all his work. Tell me, what is the problem?" To which the soldier says, "We had sent some soldiers across the border a few days ago to find out. But only one soldier returned from there, that too in this condition." To which Halbrand says, "Bury him right away, and let no one know about it, not even Celebrimbor." And he also tells Miradania that, from now on, you also should not go to king, because he has dismissed you. Due to which Miradania feels very sad. And then Halbrand, that is Sauron, comes up and looks. He realizes that Adar has brought his whole army of orcs here to attack. While here we see Adar seats with Galadriel at dinner and say, "Together we can destroy Sauron. I hate Sauron as much as you do, because he has done wronged with us so much, and he has enslaved my children." And then Adar shows her the same crown and tells her, "It was with the powers of this crown that I killed Sauron, but despite the powers of this crown, I could not kill him completely, so he's back. And now I need you, with the powers of your rings and the powers of this crown, we can put an end to him once and for all. I know he's in Eregion, and that Halbrand is Sauron, so let's destroy him together." Whereas here in Dwarf's Kingdom we see that these people have collected a lot of gold by extracting it. And then Halbrand comes in and says, "Your rings are working well, but we need more help from you. We need more mythal metal, so we can save humans this way too." But King says, "We cannot give you any more mythal metal. Tell Celebrimbor that I am sorry I could not help him." And then after Halbrand leaves, Durin says, "Thank God you refused to." To which Durin says, "Father, your greed is increasing. This ring is hollowing you from inside, so take it off." But his father says, "Don't worry. My mind is completely at peace." But when Durin tries to take off the ring, he throws him away. After which Disha says, "Enough is enough. Now we must remove your father from the throne if he remains the king. Under the influence of that ring, he will destroy our entire kingdom and all of us. Now the time has come that you should become the king in his place." And here we see the army of orcs outside Eregion, and fully prepared for war. And when Adar comes out of his tent, Galadriel says, "You want to defeat Sauron with this small force." To which Adar says, "No, you are doing wrong. Sauron does not have his own army. That is why he has called you here. He wants to defeat you and capture the entire orcs' army." To which Adar says, "I will kill him using his own trick." And then, despite Galadriel's warnings, he sounds the war cry. That's why now the army of thousands of orcs gains speed towards Eregion, and they have huge weapons. Then Eregion's soldiers, seeing them, also understand that an attack is about to happen. This causes chaos in Eregion. Everyone runs to save their lives. And inside, Celebrimbor tries to look outside when he hears noises. But then Halbrand arrives and asks him, "How far has the work progressed?" But Celebrimbor says something is wrong outside. An attack has been announced, and as soon as he goes out, he finds everything fine because Sauron is showing him what he wants to show him. And then Sauron gives him the magic mithril metal and sends him inside. Go, finish your work. All is well here. And then, the moment Celebrimbor leaves, everything is back to normal. And then coming up, Sauron sees that Adar has called his bluff, because Adar has brought his entire orc army here, just as Sauron wanted. And then, the Adar's orcs quickly attack Eregion. It seems that today, they will burn all of Eregion to ashes. Meanwhile, unaware of all this, Celebrimbor is busy in his workshop, creating 9 magical rings that contain immense superpowers. It is not being built for humans, but by Sauron for his own purposes. And then finally, Celebrimbor manages to make them. While outside, Celebrimbor's beautiful kingdom of Eregion is being destroyed by repeated Adar army's attacks, and devastation is everywhere. Then Adar tells his orc, change target. Here, Halbrand begins turning all these soldiers against Celebrimbor, and he tells them, now it is my responsibility to save Eregion, so I will take care of you all and I will take the command, because your king has gone mad. But then we see that the orcs are changing their target and turning towards the mountain. Since they cannot cross the river, the orcs now attack the mountain with all their might. Soon the mountain begins to break, and everyone realizes that the orcs are breaking the mountain to create a dam on the river. So all these soldiers prepare for the orc ground attack. Meanwhile, Celebrimbor also begins to suspect that something is wrong here. So he tries to figure it out. We see Elrond come to his dwarf's friend Durin to ask for help, and he says, a great danger of darkness is looming over all of us, and they have first attacked us elves, so I need your help. We are going to save the Eregion kingdom, but we cannot win this war alone, so we need your army too. To which Durin says, don't worry, my friend. I promise I will come to help. By now, the massive orc army begins crossing the river, whose aim is to completely destroy Sauron as well as the kingdom of Eregion. Although the elves try to stop them with arrows from above, the orcs are simply too numerous and will never be able to stop them alone. And then soon they see that the orcs are coming towards them with their huge weapons, and they are soon going to break the wall of their fort. Inside, Celebrimbor has now figured it all out too, and he says to Halbrand, it's all going in a circle. This isn't real. But Halbrand tries to entangle it in his words again. But Celebrimbor throws a hammer at him, thus revealing its true identity. And as Celebrimbor looks outside, his beautiful kingdom is being destroyed. But now Celebrimbor recognizes him. He is Sauron, and that he gave his blood in exchange for the mithril metal. So Celebrimbor immediately goes out and comes to Merdania and says, Halbrand is Sauron. He cast a spell on me. That's why I couldn't understand anything, but now everything is clear to me. He is the one destroying our kingdom. We have to stop him at all costs. Then we see that the orcs below are trying to break the wall. That's when Calibrammer says, this is the weakest part of the wall. But then Halbrand arrives there. And then Celebrimbor says, capture him. This is Sauron. You can cut off his hand if you want. His blood will be dark black. But Sauron fools them all by showing his red blood. And this overpowers Celebrimbor and makes him throw Merdania down. And then poor Merdania was killed brutally by one of the orc. But then we see another battle cry being blown, causing all the orcs to look outside, because now a massive elf army has arrived to rescue Eregion from the Linden. Now the orcs are fully prepared, and they too get ready for the attack. Both armies are now face to face with each other, and the elf army advances like an arrow toward these orcs. But then the orcs present their Galadriel to them, causing Elrond to immediately stop the entire army. And then Adar says to him, come. Let's sit down and talk about something important. He then takes Elrond alone and says, to this Adar says, I will soon burn your whole kingdom of Eregion to ashes, and Sauron is more my enemy than he is yours. So give me the ring and save Galadriel. That would be wise, because you won't be able to fight me alone. My army will eat you up, and I will crush you like an ant. To which Elrond replies, before that, I will stain this earth with the black blood of you and your children. On this Adar says, your soul will tremble just hearing about the pain my children have suffered, so go now. I will meet you soon in the battlefield. While here, in Khazad-dûm, we see Durin getting all the dwarfs ready for war, and he tells everyone, Sauron has returned, who once brought havoc upon us all, and now he seeks to spread darkness once again throughout Middle-earth. The elves won't be able to stop him alone, so we all have to work together to destroy him. So let's show him that our friendship and bravery is more powerful than any magic. On which Dwarf's army also roars for war. While here in Eregion we see the elves standing up to a massive orc army and bravely killing them all. But the orcs keep coming, even slaughtering Elrond's horse in front of him, whereupon an angry Elrond slaughters them all too. But now the orcs start crossing the walls of the fort, and by climbing up they try to kill the elves. But the elves hold out, so the orcs continue attempting to breach the fortress wall from below. And then, as night falls, Adar's commander says, "The wall is stronger than we thought. It will break only by morning." To which Adar says, "Keep trying. Sauron should not be able to escape at any cost because, my children, I will not let you become Sauron's slaves again at any cost." But then Adar comes in and sees that Galadriel has fled from there. Outside we see Galadriel trying to get out of here while hiding from all these orcs. But before going out, some orcs see her. But then someone kills them by shooting arrows at them. And it happens to be none other than Arondir, a brave elf soldier. Then both of them quickly leave from here. Here in Khazad-dûm we see that Durin is about to leave for Eregion with his army. But then a dwarf comes and tells him, "Your father has mowed down my men like crops, and he himself is digging up the last rock in that quarry. If he is not stopped, then that devil will be freed, meaning if you now go to Eregion with your army, then by the time you return, your kingdom Khazad-dûm will be destroyed." Here in Eregion we see that orc attacks continue to occur, even at night. The elves are trying their best to stop them. Inside, Celebrimbor begins carrying the rings away to prevent them from falling into Sauron's hands. But when he come out, the soldiers catch him. But then Galadriel comes and says, "Leave him." To which the soldier says, "King Halbrand has ordered them to be imprisoned him." To this, the Galadriel says, "This is the true king of Eregion, not the impersonator Sauron." Then Celebrimbor tells Galadriel, "These are the 9 rings that he has made to enslave humans. They must not fall into his hands under any circumstances." So he give the rings to Galadriel and say, "Take these away from here as quickly as possible. This is not the end of the war, but just the beginning. Many armies will come, many lives will be lost, but the light of hope will always remain." Outside we see the orcs continually trying to breach the fortress walls. Then Elrond says to Irian, "Your one blow can turn the tables. They will not be able to break the wall." So Elrond begins to make way for her. But then the orcs riddle Irian with arrows. But before she dies, Irian destroys the orc force that breached the wall. Elrond then attacks the remaining orcs. Seeing his children dying, Adar tells his commander, "Send him." Here we see Arondir trying to stop Orc along with the others. But then he sees that all the orcs are moving away from each other to make way for the monster. Here Celebrimbor arrives with soldiers to capture Sauron, and the soldiers surround him from all sides. But Sauron controls them all with his magic and makes them kill each other. Outside, the giant troll is heading towards the wall, crushing and killing soldiers. Arondir tries to stop the giant with the rest of the soldiers, but his attack has no effect on the monster. He picks up Elrond and throws him away, and with the wall-breaking weapon he begins breaking the wall himself. Soon the wall cracks. But then the Elf King comes and attacks him and knocks him down. Arondir gets the chance and jumps on his chest, and together they kill the troll very quickly. Then the king and the rest of the elves see that there is still a large orc army left. Adar is now moving towards them with his entire army, and the day passes by while fighting. Now only a handful of elf soldiers remain, and Elrond is still hoping for help from her friend Durin. But no army of dwarfs arrives. King says, "Now we will have to stop these devils ourselves." And then these few soldiers get ready to fight such a huge army. Soon a massive orc army descends upon them to crush them. But King is no less, and Arondir is also burning in the fire of revenge, and he only wants to kill Adar. So he fights, and quickly reaches to Adar. But then Adar injures him badly and leaves him half dead. And finally, the orcs start breaking the fort wall and entering inside. This means that the elves have been badly defeated. Elrond sees that the orcs are brutally killing the remaining elves. Then he is confronted by Adar, who attacks him and quickly snatches the Galadriel ring from around his neck. Here in Khazad-dûm we see Dwarf's king who is continuously digging for mithril metal. Then Durin comes and says to him, "Take off the ring, father." But the king does not stop, and he finally opens the tunnel. When they go inside, they see that there is a huge treasure of mithril metal here. "Come, look. This is the true value of our mountains," he says to Durin. Duringel's eyes also glow at the sight of so much mithril metal. But then a black shadow demon comes here and attacks them. These two are unable to stand before him, and the monster starts trying to get out and free himself. Then the king realizes his mistake. So he takes off his ring and says to Durin, "From now on, you are the new king of Khazad-dûm, and then he himself confront the demon to stop him and close the tunnel by sacrificing himself. Here in Eregion, the orcs now enter forts and even start killing women and children. But Galadriel keeps trying to rescue some women and get them out of here. After rescuing them, when she emerges from the secret tunnel, the orcs surround them, to which Galadriel says, "Let them go. I have something Adar needs." While inside, we see Sauron torturing Celebrimbor terribly to make him reveal the whereabouts of the rings. But Celebrimbor says, enraged by this, Sauron kills Celebrimbor. Then Adar's commander Orc also arrives there, and as soon as he sees Sauron, he becomes his slave again. While here, some more orcs bring the Galadriel to Adar. Then Adar sends all the orcs away from there. Galadriel sees that Adar's face has completely changed because of the ring. So he gives Galadriel her ring back and says, "Help me kill Sauron. I promise that I will take my army back to Mordor and will not wage war on Middle-earth. Come, let us together establish peace in Middle-earth." But then he sees that his children and his commander are brought to him in a wounded condition. Adar is told that Sauron has wounded them. As Adar approaches to him, he attacks him. After this, all the orcs kill Adar by biting him. And then Sauron also reaches there. Sauron tells Adar, "They are no longer your children. They have always been my slaves and always will be." He then tells the orcs, "Destroy Eregion. Let not a single elf survive. Just bring their leader to me." Afterwards, Sauron tells the Galadriel, "The path to the future is never clear." Then the Galadriel attacks him. But Sauron is very fast. He says, "Give me your ring and the rings of the other 9 humans too. I don't want to harm you." But Galadriel attacks again. Sauron blocks each of her attacks with ease. Here, all of Eregion is on fire, and the orcs have taken his king and the rest of the people captive. As Elrond tries to attack them, the orcs quickly overpower him, saying, "Sauron ordered you to be brought back alive or he would have killed you by now." Meanwhile, Galadriel tries every possible way to kill Sauron but fails. She then throws Sauron down when she gets the chance, but he quickly returns in the form of Halbrand. Galadriel doesn't fall for his trap. At this, Sauron takes the form of Galadriel. As Galadriel attacks again, he throws Galadriel down along with the stone. But Galadriel doesn't give up. She reaches for her sword and attacks Sauron again when she has the chance. This time, Sauron also attacks with his full force. Both of them injure each other. Finally, Sauron says, "If you make you queen." But Galadriel, despite being so badly wounded, does not listen to him. Now at last the 9 rings of humans have fallen into the hands of Sauron. Below, it is seen that Dwarf's army has reached there and attacks the orcs. As soon as they get the chance, the rest of the elves break free and attack the orcs. Now there is some hope for them to win. Above, Sauron grasps Galadriel and says, "The enemy is overwhelming us." Then Sauron kills him. Down below, the king quickly arrives at the Galadriel and attempts to heal her wounds with his ring. But he cannot do it alone, so Elrond also wears the Galadriel ring. Together, they quickly cure her. When the Galadriel regains consciousness, the king explains, Sauron has led his armies to Eregion, and all of Middle-earth is his target, even Lindon. So now everyone has to be ready for a world war, because now the question is about everyone's existence. And then the king declares this great war. On this note, press like and share this video, because the 5th part of the Rings of Power ends here. In these 5 parts, we have completely explained its Season 1 and Season 2. Now we will get to see the story further, and the end of Sauron in The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. That's my explanation for the American TV series, The Rings of Power, Part 5. So guys, what do you think about the series? Write in the comment. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.